maximizing energy efficiency opportunities. My name is Valentina Jimenez, and I am joined today by my colleagues Dana Mowry and Chad Magoulis. Together, we run the municipal team at Eversource.
Um, Eversource and Avangrid partnered together to administer the Energize CT program with the Energy Efficiency Board, the Connecticut Green Bank, and then the state of Connecticut. And the shared mission is to provide Connecticut residents and businesses with the resources we need to save money and to embrace clean energy. The Energize Connecticut initiative empowers our communities to make smart choices, smart energy choices now and in the future.
So, for our agenda today, we will be going over the actions number 7 and where Energize CT and the utilities can help. We'll also be going over some financing options as well as our next steps.
So step 7 is renewable and efficient energy infrastructure and operations. So points can be earned towards your certification by making your buildings and infrastructure more energy efficient. And that includes municipal buildings, energy systems within the town, and then operations maintenance.
So the first sub action is 7.1. We have benchmark and track energy use. So Eversource and Avangrid partner with the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, also known as CCAT, to provide free benchmarking and technical assistance to establish the town's profile on the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So, what is the Portfolio Manager? It helps you track and improve energy efficiency across the entire portfolio of buildings. For municipalities, it includes schools, town buildings, emergency response buildings like police departments, fire departments. So for action 7.1 and point 1 and 7.1.2, signing up for the program will reward you up to 10 points. This is the best first step towards beginning your energy efficiency and sustainable CT action item 7 journey. Many of the other actions piggyback off of this one. So in doing this, you'll be setting yourself up for being able to complete other action items as well in the category.
Action item 7.2 is reduce energy use across all municipal buildings. So action 7.2.1b states to receive an overall weighted energy use intensity reduction of at least 10% for the municipal buildings in your benchmarking portfolio. So this plays off of the 7.1, which is the benchmarking. Your town can earn 10 points for achieving a reduction in overall energy use. For each, sorry, bear with me just a quick second, for the municipal building portfolio or for your waste and wastewater treatment facilities. 10 points are awarded for each 10% reduction. These reductions come from measures like updating fluorescent lighting to LEDs, replacing old inefficient HVAC or process-related equipment like pumps, or retrofitting equipment with variable speed drives to reduce usage to only those times when that equipment is needed. All of these measures are directly incentivized through the Energize CT program. We also offer a strategic energy management program, which is a multi-year process where an SEM coach works directly with an energy team from the town to identify strategic policies, behaviors, and investment strategies in service of reducing the town's energy usage. The utility covers the full cost of the coaching engagement and provides incentives along the way for implementing simple, low, or no cost measures.
So for Action 7.5, Eversource and Avangrid's energy efficiency consultants can provide technical guidance when it comes to long-term municipal energy plan. To receive all 10 points, the municipality should do both action item 7.5.1A and B. So our program changes year over year, and consulting with us will lead to identifying where large energy saving measures would be or scalable energy efficiency measures. Additionally, by consulting with us, we will be able to give you advice on where the best way you can maximize incentives would be for the next couple of years of what programs you have.
Action 7.6 is pretty straightforward. Install efficient exterior lighting. So 7.6.1 specifically refers to municipality-owned street light inventory. So just by performing the inventory and creating a needs assessment that details what lights are needed, when they're needed, at what level, that can earn points. And then 7.6.2 is actually doing that conversion. So if your town owns their streetlights, simply creating an inventory and understanding of the true lighting needs of the town is worth 10 points. And then converting all of them is worth another 25 points. Special note, and this action is included in the climate leader designation. So I know there are Torrance excited about that. There are towns that are looking for that specific designation. This is one of them that earns points towards that.
So another great action is Action 7.8, which is a complete energy audit of municipal buildings. 7.8.1A requires you to complete the energy benchmarking as noted in 7.1. So, in order to do this action, you should benchmark. And the reason being, not only to get points for both of them, but also benchmarking will help you figure out which buildings are the best ones to do your energy audits on. So, you would want to pick buildings that in your benchmark portfolio probably use more energy than they should be, or comparing to other buildings in your town. And so Eversource will provide funding for the first 3,500 towards a general scoping study, which basically gives you a really high level overview of different energy efficiency measures that you would want to do to the building. Avangrid offers cost sharing on a case by case basis. So if you're in the Avangrid territories, you should reach out to them to talk about the studies if you want to do any and if you want help with that. So this action item can help you also help with action item 7.2, which is reduce energy use across all buildings. Um, and also, you can incorporate these into your municipal energy plan, which we talked about a couple slides ago. And by combining all of these action items together, you can set your town on a really good path towards reducing your energy use, reducing your bills, and also um, just overall general energy efficiency. So next up, I'm happy to introduce someone that I've been working with over the past year. Steve Carroll is the Director of Facilities and Operations currently at Stonington Schools, but I knew him when he was the Director of Facilities and Operations at Montville School, where we did a bunch of work together. So I brought him here so he could talk about his experience with our program and doing energy efficiency in the schools as well. Take it away, Steve.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, so I think over the last 7 years or so, maybe 8 years at Montville, we've been focusing on energy reduction, carbon footprint, and actually trying to improve just our overall environment in the schools. So not only being more efficient, but making things more comfortable and better for people in the building. I think we did succeed at Montville to accomplish that. Our high school was consuming like 1.3 million kilowatt hours, which we reduced to 650,000 kilowatt hours. And that was demand control ventilation, control network lighting, time of day scheduling for lights and building equipment to make it suitable for the environment in which the equipment's being used for. In working with Eversource, we went through multiple projects and them steps. And that would be, you know, the lighting project. We tried to work our projects so they would be comprehensive, which would include some sort of HVAC and lighting project in that project. So it would be a comprehensive return, which does help with your project to build a better incentive to actually make the project um, uh, give it a quicker payback in the long term, I say. But we did, I felt like we succeeded. The building was 1961, but we reduced almost 60% of the power consuming. I wouldn't say it was horrible when we started, but overall in the district, the district is 100% CO2 monitored, every single building, 500,000 square feet. And it is 4,500 network lights, which can be controlled from one location, 4,500 sensors that controlling them lights. It's actually a really impressive investment of time from the town's point, and how much they were committed to do it. But the return has been really, really good, especially with Eversource's help and the rebate structure to make the projects possible. So if anybody's got any questions on that.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. It's been awesome getting to work with someone super passionate about energy efficiency and also making the lives better for everyone who is in the
Right.
school
And I
day in
think
and day
that,
out, right?
yeah, that is the part of it. It is you're not, there is a code level for an environment in a classroom or in a school. So you're bound by that code level. What you want to do is take the code level, supply that code level, and improve the comfort level by making sure the rooms are not overheating too cold, in finding that finite point where you're super efficient, but everybody's really comfortable. And at that point, nobody knows you're being efficient. Everybody's happy, you know. So it's the perfect scenario. I mean, and we created some really cool projects to drive not only vendors, which we got a lot of free supplies from, but you know, we tried to pick projects like we created the 1 kilowatt hour classroom. It would be non-environmentals like HVAC and fresh air, but we created this like a classroom that would consume 1 kilowatt hours a day. You know, 1 kilowatt hour a day. That was our goal. So smart board lights, and we came in about 1.2. And that cost the school at that point we're getting eight out of the high school, 650,000 consumed kilowatt hours, 550,000 comes from solar. So it leaves us 100,000 that we're actually purchasing from the grid, are consuming from the grid. So our goal was to create a 10 cents a day classroom for non-environmentals. And we were right there. We were at 1.2 was our finished classroom. So it was really impressive, but a lot of companies donated to that because it was a really cool goal. Smartboard donated to it with our most efficient smartboard. The lighting company donated lights because it was a cool project. So we've done some cool projects and got donations from other sources by showing, you know, our enthusiasm to be better, you know. So it's another source of getting free or help from other companies.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, if you have any questions about how to advance your schools, Steve is a great resource, and it's been great getting to work with him. So thanks for taking the time to talk today at our webinar too. So
Not a problem. Not a problem. Thank you.
As a former custodian of the Montville public school system, yeah, I just want to point out that I remember this project vividly, and Steve being in all of our school buildings and trying to evaluate the most efficiency that we can get of all of our public school buildings. So Steve, it's great to be on this webinar and see this project come full circle where you're actually reporting on the efficiency. And it's great to show that, you know, Montville is having a long-lasting impact from the work that you're doing since you've moved on to Stonington.
Thanks, Torrin. I appreciate that. I really do.
As Steve mentioned, moving a project into comprehensive can help. So what is comprehensive? So there's a lot of different ways to help towns save energy and earn points towards your certification, your sustainable CT certifications. And we understand that these are big undertakings. So we increase the incentives for doing more projects or more measures that affect more end uses. So our standard incentives for non-lighting projects are calculated at 40 cents per kilowatt hour or $4 per CCF saved of natural gas. So when you create a project or a measure that affects two end uses, so say space heating and domestic hot water heating, that calculation bumps up to 50 cents per kilowatt hour or $5 per CCF of natural gas saved. When a project can affect three or more end uses, then the incentive gets increased to 65 cents per kilowatt hour or $6 per CCF, up to 65% of the total project cost. And municipalities are in a unique situation where normally a project is just one building, but we look at municipalities as singular entities. So these measures could be, you know, one measure in a library and one measure in a police station, one measure in a fire department. As long as they're different end uses, we can combine those to create the comprehensive project level. So by doing more projects, more end uses, you do indeed increase your incentive, as Steve mentioned.
Next up, we have our distressed municipality offering. This offering is specific to the list of qualifying towns on the screen. So, updated annually, the distressed municipality list identifies the state's most fiscally and economically distressed municipalities. Our offering now includes enhanced incentives for natural gas projects. And additionally, it's also the first year that Avangrid is participating as well. So the entire state, if you are a distressed municipality, you can potentially get these enhanced incentives. As an industry, we need to work towards making energy efficiency projects accessible to all, and this distressed municipality offering is hoping to achieve that. Your municipality and the businesses that reside within it can receive up to $50,000 of electric incentive and another $50,000 of gas for qualifying projects. This depends on the projects, how much is being saved in kilowatt or CCF. But regardless, if you are thinking about doing a project that includes electric or gas, please reach out. And if you're a distressed municipality, we will definitely be looking into giving you the enhanced incentive.
How to pay for it all. So through the Energize CT program, we are able to help with financing for energy efficiency projects. Both Eversource and Avangrid offer on-bill financing at 0% interest for 60 months. The municipal cap for Eversource towns is $1 million, and for Avangrid towns is $500,000. And this cap applies to the town as a whole. So it includes both municipal projects and Board of Education projects. But essentially, out of pocket upfront, $0 from the town. And we then pay at the completion of the project, we pay the vendor directly or the contractor directly. And then the cost of the installation of the project is just divided up on your bill across 60 months at 0% interest. So a free loan.
So you may be wondering, how do I get started? What do I do? One of the best things that you could do is reach out to one of us here at Eversource or our peer James Beatrice up in Avangrid. So if you could take a picture, we'll be uploading this webinar onto the Sustainable Tour and we'll be uploading it onto the Sustainable CT website. You could jot down our information. We are split up into different territories in the state, but reach out to whichever one of us and we'll be happy to point you to the correct consultant. And so with any projects, any questions, anything in mind, we're happy to help. So if there are any questions, I'll give it a minute.
Ooh, we do have a question in the chat from Jordan. What are the biggest challenges for schools to invest in energy efficiency?
It's a great question, Jordan.
If you don't mind, I'll just say the biggest challenges I've seen for schools is really getting the funding to get these projects done. And, as Dana talked about, that financing option we have, that is something a lot of our customers have taken advantage of. And it really gives them a way to work with their budget and get these projects in the years where maybe they don't have the budget to do so. So really taking advantage of that financing option is a great way to overcome that challenge. Other challenges is maybe just not really knowing where to start. So again, going back to the scoping studies that Valentina was talking about, it's a great way to just get someone in the door. It'd be a third party, someone that really doesn't have a dog in the fight, so they're not gonna try to sell you anything. They're just gonna tell you what you need, what to look at, and you can go from there to decide how you want to tackle your energy efficiency measures.
Thanks, Chad.
Yeah.
And I think I might also add the timing would probably be another issue, which is why reaching out to one of us as soon as you have an idea in mind, so we could get you the right incentives and make sure that everything can line up on your end in the most efficient way possible so that you can get as much incentive as you can when you can.
Thank you, Valentina. Anybody that has any other questions, please feel free to come off mute before Jess and I probably inundate our special guests with questions, because I know we have a couple of them, right, Jess? Yep, she said, of course. Well, I don't hear any questions and I don't see any questions coming through chat. Jess, do you have anything specific before I start?
Yeah, just one. You mentioned timing, Valentina, and that's really interesting. Are these programs that you've discussed forever, or do they change periodically every couple of years, or what influences the incentives available to municipalities?
It's definitely changes year by year. And so I think that is important to having this longer conversation. If a project is submitted during the year 2024, they would adhere to the 2024 guidelines. But in terms of what changes the incentives year over year, it really depends. There are a ton of factors. I know that one of them, is internal. So we added the distressed municipality gas offering, which it didn't exist last year. We added it this year because we did some internal calculations, figured out how much money we spent on the electric side, figured that we could probably spend more money on the gas side. So we made those decisions internally. There are also some external factors. We have a programs savings document called the PSD, which basically outlines our program over the course of 3 years. And so that is public knowledge that you could take a look at. And every year that we update it, we put it on the Energize CT website, which we can link as well. And that goes over all of the calculations that we use in terms of calculating how much energy is being saved in kilowatt hours and CCFs, the different measures that we would also calculate and could potentially work for your project. So there's internal, there's external, there's other studies that are being done that we have the Energy Efficiency Board, which is the Energize CT Energy Efficiency Board, look at and also make decisions that way. Chad, Dana, do you have anything else to add about that?
Yeah, I'll jump in terms of specific measures. The idea of our incentives are to help get projects done that are more efficient than is maybe necessary. So as things start to be the norm, then they start to get phased out of the program. So take LED lighting, for instance. That was a new technology, a few years ago, and as it becomes more and more the norm, you can't buy really non-LED lights anymore. But as it becomes more and more the norm, those incentives are decreasing. We're seeing them decrease. And so that's the lighting incentives for standard lighting might be one of the first to sort of be sunset. And we've last year started pretty sizable incentives for heat pumps. Those are a new technology. So shifting our focus to newer technologies that we see more bang for the buck with.
It's great, Dana. Thank you. I also have one question. I think this might be a plug for you guys too. I remember in our conversations, Chad was mentioning something about an energy retrofitting program. So it might be a great opportunity to expand upon that as well.
Yeah, sure. So we do offer a retro commissioning program. So what that is, we would take buildings that are at least 100,000 square foot and have an existing DDC building management system in place. And what this program does is we'll get an approved vendor to survey and investigate the building to find ways to better optimize your building management system and to get you pretty significant savings. We've seen throughout many schools, pretty significant incentives and savings comes from these projects. For the incentives, you would get 50 cents per kWh up to 50% of the cost of implementing these optimization strategies. The first step would be a survey. That's a $5,000 fee that's completely covered by Eversource. So again, a great way just to get the foot in the door and see if there's potential for you there. But that's definitely a great program to take advantage of in some of your larger buildings. We typically, with towns, we see that in schools. Normally town buildings aren't that large, so bigger high schools and middle schools are where we've been seeing those.
Great. Thanks for plugging, Chad.
Yeah, of course.
I do have another question. So let's say if I am on my town's energy commission, or maybe I'm a director of facilities like our great Stephen Carroll, and I'm really concerned about my town building's energy efficiency. Like, where would that conversation start? Would I direct it to you guys? Or where would that first process lie?
Yes. So, I mean, short answer, yes, directed to us. So on the slide before, Valentina had, the three of us are divided by counties. So, and then if you are in UI or Avangrid territory, your first contact would be Jim Beatrice. But that first step gets the ball rolling, and then we can talk about what buildings you have, what projects you've done, sort of was everything built in the 40s and nothing's been touched. We know where to start. Is everything newer and we just need some fine tuning? Maybe that's a good candidate for the retro commissioning project, like a study like Chad was mentioning. But reaching out to us allows us to sort of direct your efforts in the most efficient way possible. So definitely that's where I would recommend starting.
Thank you, Dana. Steve, I see yourself trying to take yourself off mute. Is there anything that you would
Yeah,
add?
I just got it. I was like, is that working right? So hey, no, just one. Maybe it's like a from the facility side review of the program, just to help people out. So if you don't quite understand, once you've submitted for an efficiency project, the nice and the great thing about the program that exists now, whether you submit it on your own as like, hey, I want to change all these lights out, and you mark all the lights and list them, and you list the current, and you list what's going to be improve, what you're going to improve it with, and submit that, or you use a company to help you submit that paperwork through an ESCO company. The nice thing is, before the project even starts, is from Eversource, you'll receive an ROI, a return on investment. It's an LOA, which is non-committal, that lets you review the project, lets you see the true savings of the project. And that's a really good thing to bring forward to prove that there's savings in what you're going to do in the project. And it helps get projects started, because you can see true savings that have been calculated by an engineer. And it's always a good avenue to use that LOA to almost entice the municipality to move forward. So that's definitely one of the better routes, because money isn't everything, but it's always ahead of what's in second place. So it really does improve your chances when you can show savings in a direct number.
I like that saying. Yeah, the LOAs are great in terms of sort of changing minds and showing savings and showing incentives. Yeah, I mean, it's all very black and white.
A question then for Steve for follow-up. So Steve, when you presented the LOAs, I'm assuming you had to present the LOAs to the town of Montville. Did the conversation kind of evolve rather exponentially once you kind of were able to show them that return on investment?
So I think I think there was some fear of a committal to, because the LOA, obviously, if you borrow from the using the up to the $1 million on the 0% on your bill, I think the biggest commitment from like the business department is, this truly going to save money, and are we going to have a payment on our bill? And going through that, the first time there was a lot of questions, but it actually worked. And getting them to commit to that, yes, I think there was a lot of questions and a lot of swaying in the business department, but once you've been through one, it proves. And usually, like, we try to get like a 3-year return on projects, like simpler projects, but like network lighting tends to take a little bit longer to pay back, because there's a little bit more controls involved. But it does improve the classroom environment by giving dimming lights and daylight harvesting, so you're not overlighting a room. And it's actually a nicer classroom. It's a brighter classroom. And actually, you can set the lighting up to monitor, to provide the 40-foot candles required in a classroom, or the 50-foot candles required in a science lab, which really is a great thing. Back to that code compliance, but I know I'm jumping. But no, I find that they were accepting of it, but once they were sure they were going to I was going to meet the loan payment with the efficiency project provided. And I think that was the biggest point, trying to negotiate that in the beginning.
Great. That's great to know, Steve. Jess, any questions?
I think this has been a wonderful discussion. I guess if you just had one for the room, maybe this could be a wrap-up question. One piece of advice for a municipality thinking about using some of these incentives, what would it be?
Don't wait. The faster that we get started, the more energy you'll save. It just makes sense to start as soon as possible.
I ditto Dana's statement. I'd also like to say it's at the end of the day, it's going to be not improving the lives of all the students, of all your employees, of all the it's for the public. Like the it's different when we're talking about commercial buildings and small businesses because it's for your constituents. So it's a really good investment. And, if you still have fluorescence and then you go in a classroom, imagine how the kids feel with those lights on them, trying to pay attention to class and falling asleep. Like it's, as Steve was saying, just making it super comfortable is going to be so helpful in more ways than you could probably imagine.
Great. Chad, Steve, anything you'd like to add before we close today?
No, I think Dana and Valentina wrapped it up really well. I would highly encourage to take advantage of our programs and to not hesitate to reach out.
No, I think it was great. It was a really good. You guys covered a lot, and looking from our side or the facility side, you guys covered a lot of great points, and I think it was a good webinar. Thank you.
Thanks for your input, Steve.
Well, a special thanks to the Eversource team, Valentina, Dana, and Chad for all the work that they're doing, as well as Steve for all the work that he did at Montville and all the work he's continuing to do at Stonington High School. We'll be sure to get this presentation out to our registrants and anybody that's participating today, so you have everyone's contact information. And we hope to see that there are more projects in the future coming in through Eversource or Avangrid. Anybody wants to energize or efficiently energize their buildings, we hope that this webinar was a spark for you. So thank you guys for attending this special Earth Day webinar, and we hope that you have an amazing Monday.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.